All right, we're going to be talking about the Resident Evil 3 remake. I'm your internet slime. I play games good, talk about game design, I also write adventuring journals. Particular background and preferences. I love my Zelda Mega Man, Super Metroid, and also, Blizzard fan. Big on Warcraft, Diablo, and StarCraft. And I'm here with Wild Burke, a Resident Evil and horror game veteran. Burke, introduce yourself.
I'm Wild Burke, and veteran. I don't. I'm almost be silverback gorilla status at this point, because I've been into the horror scene since I've been a kid, like 5 or 6. So Silent Hill, which admittedly I haven't played much of the games, but Resident Evil, Clock Tower, a bunch of weird Japanese slasher games, Fatal Frame, like those are all my jam, and just a general speedrunner of anything fun. That's about it.
I'm more.
I guess professional voice actor, but that part doesn't matter as much.
You know what?
That's
It
not
does
cool.
matter, Burke. It does matter. Background and context counts for a lot in these things.
Yeah.
Where's
But
Mhm.
we are here for something very important today. Something I have wanted to tear apart since it came out, to be honest.
The Resident Evil 3 remake. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up a walkthrough here. I normally do this when I'm doing video editing, but at least allows me to cover all the bullet points, which we're going to attempt to do that. So, the order of which I've gone through the Resident Evil series, I've gone into this just like an adventurer going into a dungeon. I kind of approach it like a Zelda game. Competent adventurer goes in, finds stuff, uses tools to overcome dungeon, kill monster, kill big, ugly monster, scary boss thing. Let me see. My order was... What the hell was my order? You know what? I think I actually got through... I think Village was actually one of the first ones I got through completely, believe it or not. Real surprising, but probably not surprising for me. Work my way through that, work my way through most of 7, work my way through original 4, followed by 4 remake, worked through 5 and 6 with you, Burke, which, for what they are, I enjoyed them. Worked through 2. I think I might have gotten through 2 before Village, but all the same.
There's no need to sugarcoat that they're at best enjoyable games and at worst a hot mess.
Well, I enjoyed them. I
Yeah.
don't have too many complaints. I mean, the 4 remake is good. I liked Village personally, too.
I'll talk about 5, and 6 specifically.
5 and 6 are an acquired taste.
That's what I'm saying. There's no need to sugarcoat it, man. It's
It-
okay to be like, you know what? I can see why Resident Evil was in a declining state, quote unquote.
Yeah, they didn't really have a solid sense of direction on that one, which is a little frustrating. But what are you gonna do?
That's what the Revelation series was there for. A series you have to yet to play too.
Yeah. Like I said, I am working through my way through the horror franchises, and I will get to them. So let me see. I went through the RE3 remake, the short version, and I will go through everything in details. First act was good. Middle section was probably the weakest point. End section wasn't terrible, but it was also extremely short. It only took me 7 hours on hardcore for a first playthrough, which little surprising. I mean, I know a lot of people have gripes about this. I know you have gripes about them.
Oh boy, do I!
You think they did a bad with this, right, Burke?
I think what makes it disappointing is that for everything they did right, they took out 2 things I wanted to see. If that makes any sense.
It does.
Because like Clock Tower was completely removed, and Gravedigger, one of my personal favorite bosses, was gone.
Yeah, I did not encounter either of those things.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff, but again, Resident Evil 3 is kind of the OG Resident Evil 3 is kind of weird because it's technically 1.9. Sorry, yeah, no 1.9 because it's technically a prequel. Half of it happens before Resident Evil 2. It's like what's going on with Jill. Because you can find Brad Vicker alive in 3 initially, and then in 2, if you get to the police station without picking up any items, you'll run into Brad Vickers when he's a zombie. And then the second half is post Resident Evil 2. So it's kind of an odd mix. So I see how that could be difficult as a game designer to re-implement it.
Yeah, I guess I could see that too. So let me see here. I guess I'll go point by point, and then we'll just kind of interject as I'm going through things.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess Jill's apartment. That is the character in this is Jill, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's out of order for me, obviously, because I'm not playing one up. I'm kind of going top down, but yeah.
So I can give a little context.
Mm-hmm.
OG Resident Evil series started Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine,
Mm-hmm.
where and then 2 obviously introduced Leon and Claire, and then in 3 they were like, "Gee, I wonder who we should bring back," and they were like, "Oh, well, Jill would be a fantastic choice."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they did, and then they brought Chris back respectively in Code Veronica, which in my opinion is the actual Resident Evil 4, even if it's considered a spinoff.
Mm-hmm. That does make sense. That does make sense. So let's see. The opening apartment. Well, I noticed a few things. The opening dream sequence where it's a false awakening, I think that's a fair opening. I don't really have an artistic problem with that. The apartment itself, very detailed and saturated. A lot of stuff to look at.
Those are great points. I think one thing Resident Evil Remake has done well has been touching up on a more realistic, quote unquote, like, oh hey, you survived the scary time. You obviously are gonna have some PTSD or at least some night trauma for a couple months at least after the whole thing. And so I thought that was fitting. And then in terms of the apartment saturation, it was really cool to see all the lore and like there was, if you ever read the books, this is how much of a diehard I am. I have all the original books too that were written in the 1998 and so on. But there was a whole bunch of like them trying to stay on the DL and getting fed up with the apartment, the RPD with Chief Ironbrooks, getting pissed off at him for like, Chief, it's obviously them fucking around with us. You're gonna do this?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'm not gonna do anything. So seeing all the like Charlie Day level of, can I talk about the mail? Can I talk about Umbrella with you? In Jill's apartment was really nice to see.
They went a different direction with it in the OC version, it sounds like.
Oh yeah. Well, dude, you know how original Resident Evil 3 starts?
I think the one guy gets whacked by Nemesis pretty early on.
Oh,
right?
that's a little bit into it. No, it starts off with like, you know, there's a big cinematic where like the Umbrella mercenaries are being overrun and it's a day of hell. But the game quite legitimately starts with Jill being exploded through a door, and there's like 6 zombies, 2 on all sides of you. And you're like, oh, fuck, what do I do? And you're just right in the thick of it.
Oh, it throws you right into the action. I mean, it kind of does that in 3 too, but it's different.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, totally, it was so interesting to go from, like, here's a time to, like, brace yourself, see, like, what Jill's been going through. And then, hello, I am Nemesis, and I am here immediately.
I mean, they do that as well, where he breaks through the wall and he starts chasing you.
With that goofy wall. I don't hate it. I just do think it's funny, camera shot wise, that he's just running at you with a big chunk of cement or drywall.
The corridor hallway ones. Oh,
yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna have some words about this.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, apartment saturated. The graphics on that and the intro, I think all those were probably done well, and it's probably one of the stronger points, at least so far. Nemesis busts through the door. Okay, this is the grand entrance of Nemesis. It does not exactly apply a lot of context other than this thing being a bioweapon that wants to kill you. Fair. Not as done as well as it could have been, but that's how they did it. So anyway, I think he knocks you down, you retaliate, you get thrown into the hallway, and we get what will be a reoccurring theme in this for reasons of which I do not understand. You have a corridor chase sequence where you don't lose control of your character, but everything butts. It comes down to a single button press to get away from Nemesis. I don't understand why a person would do this for a video game. I mean, I have a couple of speculations. It's definitely a more cinematic bent relative to a mechanical bent.
Remember the crocodile fight in the RE2 remake?
I do, yeah.
It's the same vein of logic, in my opinion.
Yeah, but it's different because it's facing down on you and you're dodging things where you're being chased, whereas this one's over the shoulder, kind of like Bandicoot, and you're running away from him. So it's not quite the same. There isn't a sense of loss of control or misdirection like there is in that. There's just an attempt at a sense of urgency. And again, it's not done as well as it could have been. I mean, just having a standard thing where you're running away from Nemesis, you know, trying to avoid garbage would probably have been done better, but that's not what they did. So, but yeah, you do that. You get away from Nemesis. You end up on the street. You get your basic introduction, I think. Like here, let me see if I can do this.
At least they gave Brad a pretty decent death in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Brad's original death was pretty undignified.
Yeah, didn't he just get cornered and murdered or something?
Oh, he gets tentacle faced.
Oh well, that's
by Nemesis.
There's that. Yeah, let me pull this up real quick. I'll look through my playthrough of this, make it real easy for myself. Okay, so let me see here. Yeah, I may add this in later, but that's not super relevant. Okay, I think they go in there. She's running through the streets here. I mean, cinematic work is good. Nemesis himself, I think the model looks very good. I don't have a problem
it's
with
stunning.
that.
I know a lot of people will talk about it, but I always love to bring it up how good the Resident Evil engine just looks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how immaculate the models are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you go into any of the... I used to think buying the models was pretty dumb.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a concept. Like, oh, why would I do that? But on the newer engine, I'm like, whoa, these are really good looking.
You know
like
what?
the fur details and all that.
I think I am gonna go ahead and pull up my VOD of this while I'm talking about this, so sit tight. I'm gonna go ahead and do a screen. Browser. Browser live. Cap V1. Okay, what are we capping here?
So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but go ahead and keep talking. I'm just fiddling around.
Well, I was just thinking about like how one introduces Nemesis, and I think my biggest problem, and this is what my problem was with all of RE3 Remake in general, was a sense of fake urgency to rush through a game, and then, you know, I treat it like an urgent game, and then lo and behold, almost 4 hours into the game, I'm done.
It was way too short.
Yeah, like, RE3 had moments of calm, you know? OG. But what also made it scary was when Nemesis would just start prowling. This was so by the numbers every time Nemesis would show up. And the build-up was also there. Where even the first time you... And people can knock on the system, and it's perfectly fine. I don't know if you knew about this, but RE3 Classic had like a choose-your-own-adventure kind of sections where it would go into slow-mo, and you'd have to make a choice of like, fight Nemesis or run away.
Yeah, that was an option there, whereas that option is just completely ripped in this, which is extremely unfortunate.
I don't mind it being gone, per se, because it was kind of... It is, you know, for modern gaming convention, could be seen as a little cheesy. I personally would have loved it, but... Because there were exciting moments where you chose a path and then it was like, wait, that worked?
Yeah, and it's just like, it doesn't give much of an explanation, right?
Yeah. But, I don't know. I felt like there's this, hi, I'm Nemesis, I'm here, and there's no build-up. There's no reason to be scared. There's also no reason to shit your pants at, wait, I think I heard him mucking about, and the moment I turn away from this door, because it can never show Nemesis just spawning in, right? It uses whatever the fixed camera angle decides to look away from that door, I know I'm going to have to haul ass. There's no sense of random dread in this one. It's such by the numbers. If that makes any sense.
Well, yeah, it's all preset, whereas I know enough about the original version where it's just like he shows up randomly, straight up.
Yeah, he will just... You could be minding your own fucking business looking for a puzzle. But the problem was that they Capcom, in their attempt to make RE2 better, doomed RE3. Where just Mr. X could show up, they couldn't just have that happen again. They had to one-up it somehow.
You really think that was their thought process on this?
That's what I'm hoping.
I guess that's one way to look at it, right?
Yeah. I did like that they gave Kendo more of a role.
Well, they did that with everyone a little bit to a degree, right?
Yeah. Kendo was always a character I really liked, despite having a very primitive beginning in 2. Because my game series was a little out of order too. So anyway, as I was saying, I started with classic Resident Evil for the GameCube,
Mm-hmm.
the original remake. Oh, there's an enemy type I forgot.
What do you got?
The not Las Plagas enemy.
Oh, what, the little alien minion guys?
Yeah, with the little tendrils that go, "I want to kiss ya,"
Oh yeah,
and then they
those
boop
things.
you on the nose.
Again, it was kind of a weird choice with that.
Do you feel like sometimes when a company is, because here's the one thing is that RE3 came out so quickly after RE2, the remakes, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that they just kind of had to trim a lot of fat just to get in there on time.
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense, you know. Maybe they didn't have the AI stuff that we have now, but they did just cut a lot of stuff, didn't they? Straight up, right?
They did, yeah. So just to put it in perspective, Resident Evil 2, the remake, came out in January 2019. And then Resident Evil 3, which was such a short game, they combined it with Resident Evil Resistance, came out on April 3rd, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
However, if we look at the original release from Resident Evil on March 22nd, 1996, I can say we're kind of crunch timing about the same time. Now that I'm looking at it overall, I was just looking at the overall release histories, but it's also a lot less of a game with the detailing. Okay, I stand corrected. Resident Evil 2 released on January 21st, 1998, and then Nemesis came out on September 22nd, 1999.
So anyway, you go out. Do you go to the subway first, or do you get thrown out on the street? I forget, right offhand.
I thought you start off on the street. I thought. Remember, I'm a little rusty on the original game.
It's been a while,
original
right?
remake.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I played it when it released, and went, well, that was fun.
You
and then I never
played
went
it
back.
very briefly. Okay, let me see. I'm watching my VOD on this. So
To put it in perspective, I went back and played the RE2 remake to
Mhm.
get my criticisms out of my system, because I was really disappointed how the A/B system weren't dramatically different, or
Yeah.
at least in a way that was like, oh, this is kind of different.
yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and inject this now. And from all the documentaries and everything that I've watched on this, enemies were largely random, and items were largely random in the first RE3, correct? And that's also where they added mercenaries, right?
Puzzles were random.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Made it a bitch to speedrun.
Yeah, yeah. And, well, I don't know. I mean, there was kind of a convention for this, but I think it's become more of a convention, but it kind of resembles a roguelike, doesn't it?
Yep.
In a lot of ways. And what they decided to do with the remake is they remove that and they replace it with a cinematic experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same game. It's just straight up not the same game. To make a very quick point here, the street section is probably one of the best sections in this, especially the street section where you're being chased by Nemesis. That is the single.
It's super fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I did like dipping and dodging between, especially because you got a little bit of practice with the dodge mechanic,
Mm-hmm.
which I will give him credit is much better in this game than it was in the OG one.
Yeah, I mean, it's not without its problems, though. Melee is garbage in this game, but you can eventually get around to a point where you get around problems.
Yeah, but this game with the melee system expects you to do more of the classic Resident Evil, knock them on their legs and then stab them when they're down and repeat and rinse until they're dead.
Which I guess is okay, but it's also tedious. If that makes sense.
It's the knife. It's supposed to be tedious.
Yeah, I can see that, but it's still irritating. I mean, when Carlos shows up, you can kill stuff in melee, no problem.
Just because Carlos is the most badass man on the planet.
I guess that's the point. I was even able to kill those Hulk monsters after a little bit of practice with that.
Oh,
so.
the nut hunters?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're hunters.
There's something. But yeah, let's see. You go through a corridor again to an elevator. You go into the subway station. The poster work on this is amazing. I wish the detailed work in the entire thing could be like this, where you're just looking at these movie posters going on the subway tunnel.
Yeah.
I was staring at those for a few minutes. I'm like, God damn, do they put a lot of work into these things?
That's what makes this game so upsetting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you need to get it done quick. Look at this amazing environment. Sorry, I can't.
I mean, even if it had to be done quick, it could have been done quick, but I think they got it into their head that they needed to make a cinematic experience, either because that's what they wanted to present to make it like a movie, or that's just how they kind of saw what the development cycle was, and it also markets well, which I know all the trailers for this were great, but when you play the game, that's all it is. Kind of a collection of trailers in a way. But yeah, the short version of this, expand the street section by 3 or 4 times, just have Nemesis, wander around and chase you. The game is fixed. Or set it up in a mercenaries mode to do the exact same thing. You don't need to change anything else. Just have most of the game dealing with Nemesis on the street where he's chasing you. Because that's the best part of the game. I mean, am I wrong?
No, you're not.
And it wouldn't be that hard. You would just have to make, at a minimum another 2 streets. It could be up to 3 or 4, and you're just doing it and hitting objectives. You do not have to change a damn thing. I mean, Nemesis himself, the way he moves and captures you and engages you in his first form, just use that. You don't need to do anything else.
I think that was a big shame, was just, wow, this is a really engaging enemy type. I sure hope it sticks. Oh, all right, I guess we'll see you later.
I mean, just thinking about this, too, it's like, okay, the AI is there. Most of the assets are here. If I were to program something where it had a couple of just additional corridors or things and populate it with the assets, the game would be fine. Nothing else would have to be done. It would be a fairly simple programming exercise. And everyone would probably be happy with it, even if you didn't change anything else and you just made that section longer. And you're just dicking around with Nemesis. I mean, that's pretty much what RE3 was, is you're dealing with 2 random elements with the items, with the enemies, and Nemesis shows up intermittently and it creates emergent gameplay, and that's what the classic RE3 is. Yes?
More than that, but you've got the bread, you got the meat and the potatoes at least. You don't have the full sauce, but
it's not the nuance, but it's 80% of what RE3 is. It's enough to where nobody would complain about it.
Exactly. That's where I'm like, there's a couple details, but yeah, you got it right.
And
sorry, you're talking to the diehard here.
Yeah, no, I know. And like I said, this is my first time going through RE3. I wanted to go in with a fresh set of eyes, and my background is top down. I'm going from the newest stuff, kind of going backwards, starting from Village.
And full disclaimer on my end, I fully understand looking at any remake. I'm never going to be truly happy with it. There's only one game that pulled it off, and that's Dead Space.
Mm-hmm.
Remake, and it's, you know what they did? They just made Dead Space again, but with like extra things.
They played it super conservative, which that's fine.
Yeah, they played it safe, and so of course I'm going to be happy because I wanted more of the same product. Capcom is trying to reinvent their image, so of course there's going to be things I dislike, and that's okay.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, the zombies are also unusually hard to kill in this for God knows why.
Okay, so this is something I've been biting my tongue on for a long fucking time. About game design.
Mm-hmm.
That in classic Resident Evil, you had to stop and shoot. And your character would basically, like, you had to, like, manually aim it a little bit, but often they had an auto aim where your character could, like, snap to where it needs to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was about trading bullet for shots, it made sense when you were dropping 7 or 8 shots because the skill level wasn't as high for aiming.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But the moment it becomes a 3D moving and shooting environment where you still have to pull off headshots like 7 to 8 in a row, suddenly it is a lot harder.
I
And I
mean,
feel
it seems excessive. They could just give you less ammunition for God's sakes, you know.
yeah, I don't mind that trade-off, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like they tried to hold on to these harder arbitrary numbers that made sense when you weren't aiming for the head originally in those Resident Evil games. You were doing several body shots.
I mean, the thing is, there were situations where the zombies were more oppressive than Nemesis, and
I know. I'm saying it's weird.
mm-hmm. It's a very
Like
strange balance.
I think it's weird that they made the same mentality. Like, oh, you need to get the same amount of body shots in classic Resident Evil games, but as headshots, when they move around a lot more, like it's a lot harder to hit their heads. And I'm not saying as a
Mm-hmm.
skill issue part. I'm just saying legitimately as a translation thing where originally it was 7 to 8 body shots because it was body shots, and if you got lucky, it would hit their head and it would kill them in one shot immediately. There was a luck chance to it. It
Mm-hmm.
just seems odd to translate that to a higher skill ceiling rather than just make it 2 or 3 shots and lower the ammo count, like you said. But that's a gripe I see a lot of players get around because they just shoot the legs.
Hey, I got the capture working. Thank God. I just use window capture instead of browser source.
Nice.
So yeah, now I'm looking through the thing. But yeah, going back to it, I think the entire street section where it begins, where you exit the I mean, even the section of the subway is pretty good, but the section from where you exit the subway all the way up until when the chase with Nemesis ends, that is the single best segment of this entire game.
Does that include flamethrower nemesis?
I have a lot to say about that. I have a lot to say about that. But I mean, Nemesis version 1. I mean, I'm going to say the Flamethrower Nemesis is version 2. The model fundamentally changes when they do that. But that segment there, just taking that out and putting it in a different format, you'd have your RE3, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And that you could take that and remove that from the rest of the game, and you would have the seed prompt that you would need to take care of this problem. I guess I can talk about Flamethrower Nemesis. It's not exactly in order.
Well,
okay.
let's talk about section 1 first a little longer then, if you have any other comments. Because for me, it's plain and simple. It's what the original game was. Dipping and dodging between zombies, exploring environments in a fun manner, and then trying not to get murked by Nemesis. All in all, the bread and butter of RE3.
I mean, like I said, you have the model, you have the AI. The AI seems to have agency within the narrow ream that it has here. It chases you, it hits you, it can move fast even though it's a big target. It has the tentacle lash. You can drop them with a grenade, which I guess that's kind of an issue for some people, but grenades also take an inventory slot, and he does get back up fairly quickly, so I think that's fair. You don't have unlimited grenades.
But he also drops... So, going back to classic Resident Evil 3,
Mm-hmm.
there were rewards for beating Nemesis. You
Mm-hmm.
would get weapon upgrade components.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how they did it in RE3 Classic, it's a little more immediate.
Yeah.
You get the immediate, like, was it the sight and then the extended mag?
Yeah.
Versus in the OG game, you had to get both power-ups before you could combine them to make it a thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It makes sense, but I mean, they
It
obviously
was rewarding.
they had the artist team to do this, obviously, and they could have
Yeah.
just done more of this. I have very few complaints about the street section, very, very few. I mean, I even think the power plant section where you're dealing with these weird bug aliens, other than the fact that they shoot a tentacle down your throat, which I don't know if they had to do that. I mean, as far as
Could
stuff,
have been another hole.
I mean, yeah, but it's like, I mean, here's the thing about this. That type of stuff doesn't necessarily bother me, but I know it may bother other people. And I mean, it could have just been an injection somewhere in the body. It would do the same thing. It's a parasite thing, but they chose to do it this way, and I think I know why they chose to do it this way.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just like, oh, this weird shit happens. You got to see it. It makes you want to play the game. You know, it
is catching.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely makes the brain go like, oh, I've been having a really it's been pretty exciting, but overall, like a standard Resident Evil, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah. And it's like
You lean forward and you lean forward a little bit when you're playing.
I mean, there's a sexual undertone to it. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it.
Don't even try to dance around that one, buddy.
I mean, it's just like, it's there. I'm acknowledging it's a thing. Does it bother me very much? No. Does it bother some other people? Yeah. Is it meant to be a shock thing? Yeah. Is it meant to be marketable? Yeah. That's probably part of what it was done. Was it necessary? No, but it's what they chose to do, and I will give them the benefit of the doubt and try to respect the artistic choice here that they made on that. But I don't think it's completely clean on that, but it's what they did. Okay. The maze section in the power plant, I honestly kind of like this. You know, it's oppressive, dark, there's fast stuff moving around, it makes you nervous. All in all, a good section other than that one bump, which was a weird choice.
It's fun. I consider it more... again, you haven't played it, but it's really fun, like the power room in the Spencer Mansion, where there's a bunch of bugs that skitter and come out to attack you at various angles, and this very like energy area where there's the hiss of machinery mixed with the disgusting sounds of bugs moving, and I'm like, that's an aesthetic I like.
So I'm just skimming through this real quick, looking. Okay, then you go back onto the street, and Nemesis is grabbing you after you have the keys. Again, this is just good design. Me personally, as a person who specialized in the defensive playstyle, I found out it was very easy for me to dodge Nemesis's attacks, although it's probably too fast for most people. I don't know if I'm wrong on that assessment, but I found that I was able to read his telegraphs and dodge him about 90% of the times, even in the boss fights later on. Some of the hitboxes and telegraphs are off, especially on the last Nemesis fight, but after I figured out how to do it, it became very easy. I'm not the only person that had that complaint, I don't think. Let's see.
It's a little smooth-brained.
Yeah, it's a little off. Subway puzzle, not a lot to that. They had the redesign where Nemesis, I guess, corrupts the zombies. I thought that was a nice touch.
That was cool. I forgot what the sewer section was when the Gamma Hunters show up.
Yeah, I'm getting up to that.
My memories.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to pull up the stream, I'm skipping around in my videos. We're talking about this, so
I'm pulling it up right now just so I can keep up with you.
Okay, let me see. I'll drop this down a little bit. You know, I'm skipping around and things. So yeah, you're heading into the sewer section. You're introduced to the grenade launcher, flame rounds, and I mean, the idea of a secondary lab where they're continuing your research that was discontinued, I like that. The actual sewer section itself, the design of the gammas I like. I don't think it's the best design, but it's passable. I don't have a major problem with that.
I will tell you. We'll finish your thought, and then I'll tell you my thoughts.
The architecture of the sewer is a corridor, and it's one of the worst types of level design they could have chosen to use here. It's a looping corridor. Okay? Not a good choice. Probably one of the weaker sections in the game.
I thought it was just to let the hunters get behind you easier.
There are ways to do that without making it a corridor.
Yeah. But OG Resident Evil 3 hunters were so... I mean, specifically Gamma Hunters were so goofy in the original game.
Oh, well, there's no way around it then. This is probably a better implementation.
I think is it over the top? Yes. Like how big that mouth is when it opens, you're like, Jesus, what the fuck? But it's a little goofy. But the original one, I shit you not, they just pick you up, and like the hunter's just a little bigger than Jill, and it does glot, and it looks like a bird choking on a piece of plastic.
Oh god!
So and it's like the most humiliating, horrifying death you're gonna ever see in the OG game.
I mean,
and it was something I specifically avoided so much, and I was so scared of that if I thought I was going to even die by the hunters doing it, I just turned off the game when I was a kid. Straight up would not let it happen.
Yeah, you know what? And again, this is my take on game design with this, but what I think I would have done here is, you remember the fire temple from Ocarina of Time where you're walking across pillars and there's boulders moving around below you?
How could I forget your randomizer torture?
Yeah, I gotta be getting back to that. But I think I would have done something similar here where you're walking on a shaky, like, bridge, and these things are below you. And as you're making it, the thing suddenly slams into the wall and knocks you into the pit, and now you're in a maze. And you have to escape from it. I think that would have been much better if they did something
that
like
would have been pretty cool, too.
But, again, To their credit here, I mean, as far as game design goes, I tend to be pretty good at spotting and doing stuff like that, so I'm not going to fault them for that, but it could have been done better, is my point here. It could have been done better. They didn't have to do, sewer corridor, especially when you have a decent model to work with like that. I do think their grab range was a little off. There were times where they would hit me from further away, and there were other times where I could get right up on their face and just shut them down.
Yeah, it seems kind of inconsistent.
I mean, minor gripe in the scheme of things for as good as the model is and everything. Okay, so
Not to mention, how beautiful is the unfurling the first time you saw it? Where you're like, uh-oh. That's a big mouth.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we're out of the sewer. You know what the next section is.
Oh, boy.
Okay, the introduction where Nemesis grabs you and throws you against the wall, I don't have a problem with this. Some people say that he can kill you this way, I don't. Flamethrower Nemesis. Oh, good lord.
I hope you brought some marshmallows.
Why did they do this? Ooh.
Wait, what? Is that before or after? This is how my memory is. When did Rocket Launcher Nemesis show up? Was that before or after?
Rocket Launcher Nemesis, I think... I don't know. Is he chasing you through... Yeah, he is chasing you through the streets, I think. Because I'm trying to think if it's before you go in the sewers. It might be right before you go in the sewers. Okay, he chases you. You go to the subway. He chases you through the corridor leading to the sewers. You blow him up, and then you're in the sewers. So there's no rocket yet.
So okay, so it's after this point.
You're in the sewers.
They keep camping it.
Yeah, okay, here's the section here where you're exiting the sewers. Okay, you're exiting the sewers, you exit the ladder, and he grabs you. Fine. There's no problem with that. Let's see. Yeah, this section right here where he grabs your head, he picks you up, he throws you against the wall. I have no problem with this. Flamethrower. Okay. I don't have a problem with him having a flamethrower using a flame motif or anything, right? What I do have a problem with is he uses a weapon that bolts his ass to the fucking floor. He moves like a slug. You take away his speed, which is what makes him scary.
Yeah, now he's just kind of a goofy-ass zombie.
Yeah, and he's taking maybe a brisk walk as he approaches you. I mean, he's not even using like a napalm type of thing where it's like chasing you with like sticky flame or anything. He's casually doing a very slow stroll towards you. I think I try to grenade him here. That doesn't work. Okay. The only way I can rationalize this being a thing is that someone wanted a burning building set piece and they wanted to fit Nemesis into it. And that's why this exists. It would have been cool if he was chasing you fast through this. I mean, he could have had, like, grenades that made things catch on fire. He could have knocked over a barrel and it caught on fire. I mean, if the flame consumed the building very quickly, that would be engaging and fun. Putting a big pack on him like this... like here, I think I watch over here just to see what's going on, and it's like... You ever seen an enemy in Resident Evil move that slow? That's got to be the slowest goddamn moving enemy I've ever seen in a Resident Evil game. Out of
the
everything.
Original zombie in Resident Evil might be a little faster than it.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking.
Yeah, it's just I'm looking at it. It's like, I mean, I've seen the fire bats from StarCraft. I've played the fire bat in Hero of the Storm. They can move quick, and that's part of it. Makes thing on fire that's quick. But it's just this bolts Nemesis to the goddamn floor. It's the worst thing you can do. Do you know how heavy the
jet fuel is?
I don't have.
It can melt steel beams, you know.
Yeah, and it doesn't do that in this either. But he's just taking a casual stroll with the flamethrower, kind of chasing you.
Maybe he just wants to toy with you. He is sadistic.
I mean, there are ways to do that. I've played Dead by Daylight. You can trap people and slug people and do these things. But it's not oppressive. He's just slowly chasing you forward. And I know there's also a save point here right before the boss fight, and it's like, there's got to be one. I understand this, although it screws the pacing up. I think the thing that's most surprising... I mean, they do the scare attempt here where the rafters go out from under you, but it's kind of like, yeah, whatever. You know, for all the problems here, when you actually engage him as a boss, I thought this fight was done well. And I think that's a general consensus. As far as the flamethrower boss fight with Nemesis is a good boss fight. I just wish that he picked up the flamethrower on the roof as opposed to chasing you with that. I wish that he was chasing you and throwing grenades or knocking over barrels, catching things on fire, and then picked up a flamethrower and then tried to fight you in an arena. That would have been fine. But that section, it's a bad section. There's no way around it. It's poorly done. And I don't see a redeeming factor for it other than it being novel. It's just a bad section. It's just a bad section. So anyway, you go through the flamethrower boss fight. You kill him. You go to the gun store. Okay, yeah, the section with the rocket, that rocket section is the next one. I always thought the fact that they decided to give Nemesis a rocket kind of a weird choice, but looking at the classic Resident Evil where he's sitting on the rooftop putting down suppressive fire, that makes a lot more sense to me.
I'm about to say, that's such a classic scene in the OG one where the helicopter's showing up to help out and then Nemesis just shoots it down. You're like, oh, fuck.
I mean, the rocket launcher in this, because of already how big Nemesis is, I feel like it takes away from his speed again, which takes away from the oppression and the terror factor, because the rockets don't hurt you that much, even on hardcore, and they're also easy to telegraph and dodge. I think if he was, you know, taking pot shots at you from the roof, that would show the monster's intelligence a little bit more and everything, but that's not what they did. They kind of, not quite a corridor chase with the rocket launcher, but it was kind of close. It was kind of close to that.
It's corridor dodging. Is what it was. You know, strafe left, strafe right, strafe left, strafe right a little bit as you move forward.
It's not great. It's not a great design. There are better ways to
show me your weakest alligator dodging maneuvers.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm rewatching this. It's like, okay, you get this, you know, whatever. The gun store, same thing, but it's like I think I grenade him too here. Which is fine. Not a real problem with that. Okay, is this... Yeah. I mean, look at how big that damn rocket launcher is. That's a huge damn rocket launcher. I mean, it's fine, but like I said, the fact that I know he's going to be going slower, it removes any of the... It removes the best part of Nemesis, even though I know the rocket launcher is iconic with him if used right. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
Yeah. Okay, so you have this section here with Carlos. And I think you go in the subway and it's... Okay, we have the flashback scene. Maybe I could have done more with this. It does seem like they're reusing a set piece, and I mean, it even seems kind of that way now. Even relative to back then, because reuse of assets was a problem. But you get to run around and look at the pre-Leon Raccoon police station. Strangely enough, Carlos in this section, even with the assault rifle, it seemed like I was getting overwhelmed by these zombies pretty badly.
It's supposed to be a nail-biter section.
Okay, fair enough.
Because, at least by RE3 Classic, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you go to the hospital, it's, again, to take care of Jill being infected by the G virus.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the crazy bit about Carlos's game. There's not an ammo counter, it's a percentage counter on the assault rifle.
Oh, that's different.
So,
I'm loading this
as you go through every set, and you don't get to reload it.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes this nail biting, like how much more do you have to go versus how much ammo your dwindling supplies goes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was always a nail biter in the more tactical sense, and then this one was just the like, oh god, there's just too many things all the time.
Yeah. Like
but good thing Carlos has the right hand of God to punch everything.
Yeah, this shower scene here, I got stuck here for a while. Where you actually breach in and you're fighting this zombies in a tight corridor with really not enough firepower to deal with it. I think I had to use a grenade here to finally clear it. But I was probably stuck here for 20 minutes or better.
Grenade, the moment there was ever 3 or more zombies in a tight space, grenade usually just came out of my hand. It wasn't even a question, because you knew the ammo cost alone would be too much.
Yeah, because I was fighting with this for a couple of minutes, and well, I had other people watching me about this, and they're like, you can sneak past the liquors, and it's like,
No.
well, I mean, yes, but I've learned something about myself, Burke, and I've told you this story already back when I played the original RE2. Anyone that knows the double mirror room with the damn liquor, you go in it the first time, it's fine. You go in it the second time, the goddamn thing bursts through the mirror and attacks you. I remember I played it on the N64, and I remember that terrified me.
It's still scary, dude. Like, even when I speedrun it occasionally, I'm like, deep breath.
Yeah.
Logistically, as a speedrunner, if you just run to the door, it won't hurt you. But my brain goes, but what if it decides not to?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I defensive techniques and everything, it's not going to hurt me, but it's like, even in the RE2 remake, I think I went on like a 5-minute rant about the damn liquor in the mirror room because it stands out so solidly in my mind. And then, even in this, they're like, you can sneak past it, and it's like,
No.
I'm unloading clip after clip into this liquor. It's like, but you can sneak by. It's like, you don't understand. I have to kill it. So I think I have an issue because of that incident in my past. Even in it was in RE5 where the liquors were on both sides, right? And you can sneak past them.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember that when we were playing it, it's like, hey, we can just sneak past them. And it's like, I remember what I did. It's like, Burke, we're not sneaking past them. I'm killing every one of them right now with everything I got, and you're going to help me, whether you like to or not. And that's what
was never an option.
Peace was never an option. And we killed every single one in there. And I remember
It was glorious.
And I remember you told me, it's like, they're just going to come down the hallway and there's going to be more of them. And I was like, good. I want to kill more of them. And we did, too.
Not a single liquor left that room that day.
Oh, my God. So, have a bit of an issue with that personally, but that's okay. Alright, so I think you get past the RPD section, and what is this? Am I running from Nemesis, getting chomped on again? Okay, I don't know what to call this section. It's kind of like the park, but it's not the park, if you know what I mean. With the third form of Nemesis, I'm going to say. The dog form. Which,
yep.
The dog form is not Nemesis. It's a different monster entirely. Let's be honest here. It's not Nemesis.
Well, Nemesis doesn't even mutate like crazy until near the end of the game in the OG.
Yeah, he just gets busted up, which I think it's a better way to do it because it's a humanoid-like rival that you're trying to outwit. It's a battle of wits.
It was so cool seeing it like get visibly weaker and more desperate and tenacious in its attacks, where it would do these multi-hits, or like the tentacle would be more prevalent as like a whip. Compared to like originally just a rope or a lasso, it becomes this whipping attack, and you have to be so much more like, holy shit, this guy is no longer fucking around. He's done playing with you. He just wants you dead. In the famous words of Sundowner.
Yeah. So, he wants you dead! Anyway. Yeah, I'm getting better at that. I'm going to be trying to do a few things with that coming up. The old creative spin wheel. But anyway, this fight with Nemesis when he's in his dog form. Now, there's a couple meta things outside of this where you're supposed to use the mines on the wall to drop this guy and kill him. And if you don't have those things, you can't kill him. So, anyway, me being me, the first time on this is I exhausted all my ammunition on this. Okay, so, and he got me because obviously I was out of stuff. Not a problem dodging or any of that, but at that point I knew it's like, well, this boss has to have a trick. I don't think that's the case with everyone. I think a lot of people, they get like through halfway through their inventory or 3/4 through their inventory and think they just need to do a little bit more damage. But I knew immediately the first round when it's like, oh, he's not dead, I have to do something else. So that was more straightforward for me than probably a lot of people. The boss fight itself, on the contingent that you need to use the mines when he goes into his phase 2 and everything, it's actually a fairly decent boss fight. It's fun. But it's in context. You need to have Jill saying, it's like, I need to put mines on. I think she might have said something at one point about that.
Oh my god, thank you for hitting something on my head that did drive me bonkers. I think it's safe to go now. I have to shoot the fuel tank. If only I could set up a trap. You're like, Jill, thank you.
I mean, she should have
I
said
guess
something like that at the start of the fight, most likely.
I understand, but it's something that drives me nuts about modern gaming convention. And I get that you're trying to appeal to the largest demographic possible. But you know what my favorite things about Signalis was?
Mm.
Not once did it ever fucking tell me in the middle of a boss fight how to handle a boss fight.
Yeah.
Maybe it dropped a hint in a text that you could read before going to it. And that's fine, because you read and you're like, oh, thanks for the information, game. But not, I'm not doing the action fast enough, and then it tells you how to do it, and you're like, come on, man.
You know what? I actually know how they could have done this. On the first loop where he's running on the wall, he should have ran into a mine and knocked over a truck that dumped more mines out of it and kept going.
Isn't that what happened?
No,
I don't remember
no.
it too well.
He just jumps on the wall and he starts spinning in circles.
He just starts drifting.
Yeah, he just starts drifting on the goddamn wall for no reason.
This man has the zoomies at
Yeah,
3 a.m.
yeah.
What do you do?
Nemesis has the zoomies, and that's what you're dealing with here.
Give him the Ritalin strapped mine.
Like I said, other than just not telling you, the guy that you need to use the mines on this fight to do that,
Fun fight otherwise.
In
It just takes the
isolation,
wind out.
it's a good model, but like I said, the lack of explanation and the fact that they're changing Nemesis into something it shouldn't be, this puzzle piece does not fit into this game very well, even though it's a good puzzle piece, is what I'm going to say. So that's the Doog fight with old Nemesis, where he has the zoomies. Okay, now... Go ahead.
We give him Adderall to calm down.
Pretty much. Now we have the hospital section. Hospital section next to the street section is probably the best section out of this game. It is the second best section, very solidly.
I'm not gonna lie, it just straight up feels like you're playing a mercenaries mode. Just because of how nutty it is.
And you want to know what? I think if RE3 had a good, robust mercenaries mode, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Because they would have probably gone the direction that I'm talking about, where it'd be randomized enemies, you'd be going toe-to-toe with a humanoid nemesis, and you'd probably use one of 3 set pieces, which would either be the street, the hospital, or an expanded lab. And you know what? Or an expanded warehouse, for that reason. They'd made some interesting choices on the warehouse, if there was one in Classic, as a matter of fact. But anyway, hospital, I think it's done well. I have very few complaints about it. Even the gauntlet section at the end where you're fighting, some people have an issue with that. I enjoyed it. I would consider it a boss fight, and I enjoyed it for what it is. These Hulk guys, maybe they're supposed to come across as strong. I found it to kind of come across as about even in power relative to your character. And it dropped off as soon as I figured out that you could do the double tap with the melee on Carlos, where you could shoulder him, then you could kind of boulder punch him against the wall and start busting him up. Their power dropped off at that point. But, you know, going through the hospital and doing all that, very few complaints. I think most of it was done right. The pacing was done well.
Listen, any day to get to play Carlos is a good day. That's the end of the story. Where's my goddamn hunk Carlos game?
Yeah.
I need it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people would like that, as a matter of fact. I still need to do the extra sections in RE2 with Hunk in the shop, like you showed me in the other video. I'm going to get to that.
You are really going to like the hunk section.
Oh, I know. I mean,
you specifically, it's your type of thing where it's a consistent experience, where it comes down to tight defensive gameplay and knowing when to push and managing resources. It is thrilling.
Yep, that's that is my jam. Full up. That is the RE experience for me.
And you're on a timer, so it makes it even more urgent. It's fucking chef kiss.
Yeah,
Remake did it good. N64 version was good. They're all fucking good.
Yeah, you know, the more I pick apart this zombie siege in the hospital, I don't know if everyone likes it, but you know what? For some reason, I really had fun with this section, this boss fight. I'm not exactly sure why either. I just kind of like how the setup was with it.
Get punchy with it.
Yeah.
Well, it's for me, it was always like Carlos kind of got done dirty in the first classic one. So it was just super funny to see Carlos, who looks exactly like a dragon character, the newer pro tag that's replacing Kiryu Kazuma,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They look like toe to toe, almost exactly the same. So in my brain, I just went, I'm just playing Yakuza with Resident Evil now. So I was having a blast.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing about the Zombie Siege is it probably appeals to my preference in game style more than your average Resident Evil player. So I think that's where the schism with this is. It's a section that I like because of my preferences. It's not something I generally think a standard Resident Evil fan would like, because you kind of want the dodging, low resources trade-off type of thing going on, and this isn't that. This is zombie warfare that's going on right here.
I mean, 3, you could get pretty aggressive with hordes of zombies because they brought the ammo crafting back, right? So ammo crafting started in 3, the OG.
Yeah, I remember it was more expanded, and I think it got a little reduced with the remake.
Yes. Like you could make any type of ammo. And the fact is, the grenade launcher, if you were insane enough, there was it works on programming values, which means it could hold, and I shit you not, 255 rounds.
Jesus Christ, I don't think you'll ever get that amount, but hey.
You never will in a playthrough, naturally. But what I'm saying is, if you wanted to go to war and you hoarded your resources to where you wanted to go to war, you could fucking go to war. And that was one of the cool things about Resident Evil 3. And like, there are sections where there's so many zombies where it's just overwhelming. So of course it made sense to have like an overrun section.
Yeah, you know what, Burke? Here, I'll take this. I mean, I might even do this again at some point, but it's like, here's my version of Resident Evil 3, okay? You start as Jill in the streets, okay? It's 4 times the size. You're dealing with base nemesis, all right? That's section 1. Section 2, you go right to the hospital. You're fighting a different version of Nemesis, and he's chasing your ass to the hospital. That's your section 2. Section 3, you're in the warehouse section, and you're dealing with Nemesis, and he's different. And you're having to climb. It's a vertical game. That stops. You're dealing with Nemesis in the lab. That's the last act.
Don't get... I will give you one thing. We need the Clock Tower Church section.
I haven't played it. I've heard things about it.
I know. I'm just saying, it's such an iconic scene to have Jill infected by the virus on this altar, basically.
Oh, it's symbolic and thematic and all those things.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you look at that and you're like, there's just no fucking way I can't take that out. That's like iconic.
Okay, I get what you're saying. The thing is that what I'm probably doing here is I'm looking at this, I'm looking at what I have to work with, what I have to do to bridge that gap, so you have a rival you're competing against, and I'm kind of deploying it in a roguelike mercenary mode, and that, for what it is, it'd be a good game because it's good design from my perspective. Now dialing this a little bit back, from the perspective of someone playing original OG Resident Evil, because I know people got off 2, they're coming into 3. I've heard about people collecting posters and waiting for Resident Evil 3 coming out with Nemesis and everything. It came out, it was good. But Nemesis is a certain symbolic thing, I think, to Resident Evil players. He symbolizes a series of things. And that's why changing him to like the dog form and things is a bit sacrilegious for a more hardline of Resident Evil players. There's something to that, right?
We're on the right track.
Okay. And I think the sections that they skipped is... I know they switched the Dead Factory for the lab, is what they called it. The park is gone. And the clock tower is gone. Is that everything? Or is there something else?
I mean, you're missing key boss fights.
Yeah, they
little more
nuance.
And there's also just sections like where you get to go to this restaurant, right? And Nemesis chases you and Carlos, and you have the option to like throw a propane tank and take Nemesis out with it, so you can get a free weapon upgrade.
Yeah, the ambiguous choices that give you that change the outcome.
Or there's my personal favorite of these, and I won't tell you the right answer on this one, but you're on a very thin bridge and if you fall off it, it's kind of similar to your proposed like maze situation. You're probably gonna fucking die is the short answer.
Yeah.
And Nemesis jumps on the rickety bridge, and what the fuck do you do?
Yeah.
I won't tell you the answers, but I do miss some of those like fight or flight, what do you do situations, because the one that we really got for me that stuck out was the bowling ball in the early part of Uptown Market. When it comes down the restaurant, you're like, oh no, I'm just gonna jog away from it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I got killed by that thing the first time it happened, though. So hey.
Listen, I haven't died to the Spencer boulder yet. It's not going to happen again, game. You can't keep getting away with it.
I mean, I was all the way on the right, though, probably in the worst position you could have been, and the second one didn't get me, but that's neither here nor there.
I have a low-key question for you, friend.
Mm-hmm.
Did the boulders kill you in the RE4 remake?
No.
When you were in the mine with Carlos?
No.
Good, because I saw my friend put it, and he's like, man, you'd have to be an idiot to get killed by boulders. And I'm like, watching the fuse go down, I'm like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, I ran downhill the other way, and somehow, by the miracle of God, magic hitbox didn't hit me.
Oh, where you have the explosives?
Yeah.
Okay, I will admit the first time it got me, but I thought it was going to be a cinematic to my defense. I didn't think it was going to be active.
See, that's what I'm asking. Meanwhile, I ran down the hill preemptively. And it was like, okay, they're gonna try to do a funny tricky on you.
Yeah, because it's like it's going to cut to a cinematic, and then it didn't. And I was at... Oh, no, I remember what it was. I ran back, but I ran down the corridor. You know,
I ran down the corridor, too, but I hugged the wall on the left hand.
Yeah, I was back. I was back as far as you could go, and it just killed me because it's going to kill you as opposed to blocking you off.
Too damn funny is what it is. But yeah, the point is, Boulder Traps is very early game Resident Evil stuff. So my brain's hardwired.
Yeah,
for
I mean, with me, it's like in like a D&D situation, what I did, I would have been perfectly fine. But what they have to do for the game to push it ahead, it's going to kill me. So it's like, okay, fine. It's a minor issue that's not an issue that I don't give a shit about. God damn, that pre-section where you're running around the mine killing all those guys. Boy, did I have fun with that. Wowee. I want to need to do that again. That was fun.
You mean where it start getting good?
Yeah, you know, I was using the mines and the grenades and pairing the chainsaws and shit. RE4 is good. They did a lot of stuff right on that. But anyway, getting back to this. Was there a warehouse section in OG RE3?
Yes.
Was it like this?
That is where my memory is a little more fuzzy, to be honest with you. I need to replay both of them.
Okay, because...
to answer that. I do know it's similar-ish.
Okay, because this situation that you have going on here, is it a long section? It's short approaching medium, and you're going up and down, and you're dealing with a variety of enemies, and it's kind of a confusing maze with vertical elements.
It had a lot of that, too, in the OG. I just remember a lot of naked zombies, if I'm going to be honest with you, from my OG days.
These pale heads. Okay, but anyway, from a mechanical perspective, I thought this section was... You're not going to like it as much as the street or the hospital or the lab, but from a mechanical gameplay perspective, this is a very well done area that's engaging mechanically. You got a lot of you're going up, you're going down, you're making decisions, you're fighting enemies, you're getting caught off from enemies, you're moving down hallways and things. There's a lot of mechanical engagement in this section that I'd like to fight Nemesis in this type of arena more than I would like to fight, you know, in the other two forms. Like if you have a series of small corridors where you're trying to dodge Nemesis and you veer off to the side and he knocks something down and you're having to crawl and shit, that would be pretty fun, I think. I'd at least like to see how it would be done. But this section, I kind of like this section. It is probably I would say the fourth best section out of this game relative to the other ones. First one being the street, second one being the hospital. And I do think the lab is done better than this, though. The lab's fairly simple, I know this, but there's a lot of context to it, too.
Sewer is your slog?
Sewer... Well, I went over this. I think that area should have been redesigned. I think it's too similar to the RE2 sewer, which was done better. And I think that's where they really screwed up, because you made an inferior version of something that you pumped the assets from that's too similar to something that just got released. I mean, I'm playing them... I'm not going to say closest together because it's been a couple of months, but it's like... The idea of having a corridor is kind of like something from... Even in Final Fantasy, it's like, oh, the dungeon is a corridor, and it's like, that's the worst design you can do. It's elementary school level design, and for someone like me that's hardcore gamer, it's not acceptable. Especially from something like Capcom. It's like, I will make allowances for you know, artistic liberty and expressions, but something like that, it's like, No, you are failing my class. Get out of here. No, this is not acceptable. It's just straight up no. And I won't let it go. I just won't let it go. But yeah, the sewer section, I would say straight up remove it if they're not going to do it right. I mean, it breaks the pacing and everything else too. I mean, even the freaking climb with Nemesis, I would remove that too and just leave the boss fight. And you can't do a sewer on fire section with Nemesis either, unless you're going to get real creative with it, with like petroleum or something. I mean, that would be fun. If he contaminates the water with petroleum in the sewer, you've been running through the corridors, become firewalls or something. That would be interesting. Didn't do it though. But yeah, I'm watching me running through the warehouse here, which I think took me a little bit. I think I took a few deaths here, which is okay. Okay, now we're in the lab section. I like how the lab looks. I think you have 1 or 2 loops here. It's closer to simple than complex, but for some reason it didn't bother me in the same way that the sewer did, if that makes sense. It's pretty
It was
cool.
at least kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was, because it's like you're looking at, it's like, oh, the scientists are doing the thing and everything, and comparing this to the Dead Factory, I think probably the Dead Factory is a little more interesting, even though I haven't been through it. The screenshots that I've seen, you know, because
yeah.
This is probably too similar to Nest, but the whole thing is, it's like, I think the reason I like this section is because it engages with the science of Resident Evil, and my mind likes that. So I probably put a higher value on this than what it should have, just based on its merits as a combat arena, if that makes sense, because of my own personal curiosity and preferences. I mean, mechanically, the warehouse is probably better than this, but I find the warehouse less engaging because there's no lore to it. It's all boxes and walls and shit, if that makes sense. But still, this is third best area, and that's that. So I'm going through this, and it's simple enough. You have the a minor corridor gauntlet here, which there's nothing wrong with this, and the pale heads. The thing about the pale heads is I noticed they weren't going down, and I just pulled the Magnum out and just wasted them.
No, I don't have time for this shit.
It's like, yep, I know what these are. I'm pulling out the Magnum, and I'm dumping all the Magnum rounds that I've been holding up to this point, and got through that without a problem. I mean, can you blame me? It was probably a fairly sensible choice, all said and done. And who is this other person that you're dealing with? Vladimir, Dmitri, or some damn thing?
Oh, the goofy ass. So Nikolai.
Okay, Nikolai, I know he had a bigger part in the first one, and this basically a forgettable character. I could take it or leave it or give a fuck one way or another. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's like, it's kind of the OG one. There's like this mystery of like who's taking out the other mercs. And the captain is doing his best in the subway, right? But he's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
And Nikolai's a little sketchy, but you're like, okay, Nikolai, whatever. You're just being edgy, whatever. Until he just straight up leaves you all to die. Then you're like, what the fuck? And this one, the subtlety is being told like a 20-pound sledgehammer.
Yeah. It's, I mean, take it or leave it. The characterization of this person, this is, in a realistic situation, that guy wouldn't have even been there, even if he was a bloodthirsty, calculating mercenary. He just wouldn't have been deployed.
This man, we're not sitting him in why. He's probably going to kill the rest of the team. Aye, fair enough.
I mean, he's a straight-up liability.
Yeah.
I mean, what skills does he have other than being a grade A asshole? You know?
That's good on shitting on the enemy, too, sir.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, moving up to... I guess we're going to call this Nemesis Form 4, or Boss Fight 4, or whatever. Okay. I know a lot of people had trouble with this section. This is true, right? With the zombies coming up and catching you and things. Or maybe I'm wrong on that, I'm not sure.
One more time, sorry, I think
spaced out.
zoned out there for a second. Yeah.
Okay, no, but it's like, you have the ads on this, which I know you have an issue with, where the zombies are grabbing you and stuff.
It was more of an issue in 4 that they used grabbing to like pad
Mm-hmm.
the game difficulty. Remember, OG Resident Evil Zombie had 2 attacks:
Mm-hmm.
grab and spit. That's fine.
Okay, well, here's how this fight went down with me. Okay, first off, I'm able to read Nemesis's attacks well enough to where I'm able to dodge 90% of his attacks, if not 100%. So, Nemesis himself was a non-threat in this situation for me. The zombies. Okay, they send a concave ring after you to chase you on this. Now, you know I've played a lot of Diablo 2, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
All right. Now, because of that, and I don't know if you know the cow level, you would herd cows and you would drop cows. So this was kind
It's
of
a meme.
Yeah. This was kind of similar to that. So what I would do is I would run 2 loops around this and let the zombies cluster up, and I would ignore them. They would be a no threat to me the rest of the thing because they would be clumped up, tripping over each other. And I don't even think they got me more than once, maybe. But yeah, you see how I'm like twisting around here and clumping them up? You see that? And they're bunching up. I don't know if that's something that most players do, but it's something that I did, and it was a non-issue, more or less. And also, I noticed Nemesis drops them when he charges through them, too.
If it was a different game, they'd drop ammo and resources that you might need.
Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of a remix of the third fight with Nemesis, which it's okay. I was trying to drop him on that, but that's not. Oh, I guess I did a few times. Looking at that, this was a pretty easy section, but I did also go in with something like 30 grenade rounds, which I used all of them.
What else are you going to use them?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know what was coming next, so. But yeah, I went through this. This is, I mean, it's fun, but it's not super dangerous. You know, it's kind of this feels like a mid-boss type of fight. Doesn't feel like an in-boss. So anyway, he's running around. He's knocking through the zombies. Didn't have too much trouble with that. So, and I think we get him and they give him the acid bath. Which is fine.
Good old sulfuric bath.
Okay, and we're pushing ahead. They bathe him.
Jill is shocked that Nikolai is an asshole.
Yeah, now we got this section with the railgun and Nemesis final form. Okay.
I feel like they just looked at the Cove Erotica boss and the OG and went, but what if we just remade it?
Okay. Here is my most positive take on this boss that is possible, and they could have gone more with this, but you familiar with the demon wall again from Final Fantasy?
Oh, fuck off. Not that wall.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's like I look at this and it's like...
Quick, cast virus.
Yeah, but no, it's kind of like, oh, cool, this is the Resident Evil version of the demon wall. And it's like, cool, I can get on board with this. I mean, if they went a little further with that, you know, just that whole fight, if they made it more like the demon wall, that would have been cool for a final boss. Okay, this guy. The appearance, I like the appearance. The railgun, I like the railgun. Even pushing the power conduits in, I don't mind that. That's okay. I don't like the fact you have to go through a cinematic every time you die, and you were going to die on this a lot. Okay. Here are my problems with this, with the boss, okay? I don't know if it's the telegraphs or the hitboxes or things, but his shit is hard to dodge. It's hard to dodge in a way that hasn't been a part of this particular game up until this point. I probably spent, let me check this video, 4 up to 5. I spent an hour on this boss. Okay. Which that means this was 20% of all of my gameplay for this run through.
They had to pad it somewhere.
Okay, so it's like some of the attacks are easy to choreograph, and I know he does 2 sweeps, but it's kind of like it doesn't indicate that you can dodge, and then you can dodge, and then when you're putting these things, he'll grab you, and it's instant death. You know, okay. There's not a problem with this. If it just started you back up at the beginning of the boss fight without the cinematic, I probably wouldn't care. But it makes you go through all that shit every time. And at each time, unnecessarily, it's very irritating for that reason. Like I said,
get the let me get back in the fight. I know I fucked up.
Yeah, it's kind of like game, please, game, and it's just gonna one-shot me again. So it's just kind of like, God damn it, game, you know. Um,
Why you gotta shoot him?
Mm-hmm. So anyway, eventually I get to the point where I grab the 3 vials and I eventually kill him. But here's what I don't understand about this that confuses me. Grenades don't work on this guy. They don't do shit. Magnum works, but I had 3 bullets left from shooting all the damn paleheads. Shotgun does nothing. Grenades don't seem to do anything. You can't stun this monster. Handgun works great for whatever reason.
I think they figured you were out of ammo for the rest of it at that point.
Yeah, which would make sense unless you're me, and then you're not. I had both handguns. I decided to keep both handguns. I don't know if that's a choice that people make. You know, it's kind of like me going with dual magnums on RE5, but whatever.
Dual magnums is funny.
Yeah, dual magnums is very funny. But dual handguns in this instance, which, again, the burst handgun, I'm kind of like, why? Why necessarily? But whatever. It's like, okay, it's another handgun that I can use that doesn't aim as accurately. All right. But as soon as I figured out that he's weak to the handgun and I just need to zero in on that, you know, I just took my shots and I cleared him. Which, basically, this entire... Me being me, I fight a particular way. I fight defensive to keep myself alive. I try to observe for a weakness, then I try to apply a tool to take out the boss. Basically, I play every game like I'm playing Zelda, more or less. So, I went to the handgun last because it's your basic weapon. So, moving ahead on this, I think I eventually
It's super funny. If you're an OG player, you either stick to Magnum or handgun. Because those are the 2 that have the least amount of cooldown on your movement. So, when you're trying to play defensive in Resident Evil, you want to use a handgun because you can shoot a bullet and reposition yourself quicker than any other gun in the game. And then Magnum is the second choice because...
Oh, man. Okay. Now there's a section coming up here that really upset me, and you're going to know why. Okay, I kill the guy, right? And I'm looking forward. You know what I'm thinking in my head, right? Do you know what I'm thinking?
Tell the lovely audience what you're thinking.
All right, you see that big corridor that you opened up behind there with the railgun? It's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to exit out of there, and I'm going to walk out of the facility.
Oh, my fucking God. Thank you. I was like, man, I can't wait to crawl out of that to get out of here.
And it's like... Oh, sweet, they're going to have an awesome moment. And it's like, nope, you know, exit stage right. And it's like, game.
Exit.
You.
Excuse me. I believe Shakespeare did not say exit stage right. He said exit nuant by bear.
Yeah, you can see it right here where it's like in my thing. And it's like, all right, here we go, baby. And then it's like, no. Game, no. No. God, no. Why? Why? Why did you take this away? So I back up and it's like, no way. They didn't screw that up, did they? And it's like, oh, I see a ladder on the right. I guess we're going this way, aren't we, game?
It would have been insult to injury if you got pinged like in Dead Space for the map.
Oh my god. Okay, so we're walking our way out of the facility. Okay.
And then my least favorite section, or as I like to call it, hey, didn't I see that in 2004?
Yeah, pretty much. So we're exiting Nest 2.
I'll let you break down the scene how you want first, and then I'll tell you a really cool plot twist that they have for the OG game.
I mean, this whole section here, after dealing with Nemesis, you know, wall form, it's kind of like, I'm kind of done. I know there's nothing else.
Out.
I'm done. At this point, I'm thinking about, all right, I'm gonna complain about this game now.
It's time to complain.
Yeah.
But actually, you might know this game. You might recognize this as Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 or 1.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, this whole section's forgettable. I'll let it play out, but it's like, okay, fine. So yeah, that was my run through the Resident Evil 3 remake.
Also, this fucking part. Why you shoot the thing?
Yeah. I am asshole. I must get in one more punch.
The remakes of the OGs.
Yeah, yeah. No.
In regards to what? So I got zoned in on watching
Yeah, no. I'm just.
cutscene. I forgot how dumb Nikolai looks in this, man.
He does. He doesn't look engaging.
It's
Isn't
the OG Modern Warfare, the one where you get the gun and you do the slow mo shoot,
Mm-hmm.
and the slow mo knife throw as well.
I mean, isn't this guy supposed to be like a rival to Hunk or something? Maybe.
Kind of,
Eh.
not really. Hunk is kind of his own category.
Yeah, yeah. So okay.
Yeah, but
I shoot him, of course.
yeah, but it's just the Call of Duty, like, oh no, you have to wait for your clear shot to get the thing. Don't fuck it up.
Yeah, yeah. Should have just shot him in the jump.
God, I
like a
love
sensible
Carlos.
Person.
I love Carlos so goddamn much. Because, like, he's really fun, spunky, action hero-y in OG Resident Evil, and that's fun. And I like that they didn't lose a single drop of it in this game.
Yeah.
So, the big plot twist was that Resident Evil Classic had different endings, and Resident Evil 3 specifically had conditions for secret endings.
Mm-hmm.
So, the best secret ending is you rescue Carlos, but he doesn't get the helicopter. But the helicopter shows up anyway. Can you guess who pilots that fucking helicopter?
Mm-hmm.
Guess. Guess, motherfucker.
Who
Who is critical to Jill's story?
Oh, jeez. Is it Barry?
It's Barry fucking Burton. It's Barry fucking Burton coming down from Canada to rescue you.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's so goddamn good.
All right. And anyway, yeah, I see you in there, Gaze. Had a little bit of technical stuff, and I got involved in my conversation with Burke, but I see you in there.
God.
Thanks for
We're
popping
portaling.
in. I was tunneling a little bit. Oh yeah, look. There we go. Yeah, this is why I was so up on this. Hi, everybody. I'll go ahead and close. Yeah, actually, I'm gonna close on this side over here so we don't have the endless tunnel. Okay, but yeah, I see you, Ecto. I see you, Gaze. So okay, let me see about that now. So what I've explained my experience through this. What do you think of what I've talked about with this? What's your opinion on my opinion?
What's the opinion of your opinion? It's a solid, fair take, especially for someone who's not like familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think the things that I'm gonna love about RE3 Classic, you're not used to tank controls or some of the bosses being pretty unfair. Gravedigger is a pretty big example of an unfair boss for the uninitiated.
Okay, as far as tank controls, though, I do know how to stutter step backwards, so it's not going to hit me as much as it does other people, and you know what I'm talking about.
Well, you're going to have to deal with tank control dodge button.
I can probably deal with... You know what? If I can punch a boulder, I can deal with tank controls, Burke, so come on.
It's not that. I'm just saying there's going to be moments where you're playing it, and you'll try to move, and you'll accidentally dodge in a way that will actually get you hurt. Occasionally. Well, it's not flawless.
At least the death animations make it worth your while, don't they?
Oh yeah, that's something I do miss in general. By the way, I love the AI art y'all have been making. It's so breathtaking. But
we're gonna be doing more of that
OG
stuff.
death animations were so brutal, and it's something. It's what really hurt me the most, honestly, for playing RE4. But sure, they had these amazing brutal cinematics. They were also really long. Versus the original ones were like, oh man, did I just get decapitated and then it screened to game over?
Yeah, I mean, is there a high-res pack for RE3, or do you know? Do they have a Steam version, or what am I going to have to do here to go through that? What's the best way to do it, in your opinion?
I mean, I just straight up have an emulator for...
Just do it through RetroArch. Yeah, I guess that is an option.
I just run it through Retro, or...
How many hours am I looking at on it?
Want.
How many? It's going to be more than 7 hours. I know that because I clocked in at 7 hours 30 minutes on this, and I played it over the course of 2 sessions in 2 days.
It really just depends on how good you are at mapping and surviving. It can be anywhere from 8 to 12. Again, I haven't played it in a hot minute. Let me see what the average playthrough is online for the
Mm-hmm.
average player.
Because I mean, I'm
Remember,
expecting a little bit more, but it's like I don't know exactly what I'm expecting, if that makes sense. But I am going to be giving that a playthrough on this. It's like, let's see, what do I have that I have to do? I have to do 0. I have to do the RE1 remake. I'm probably also going to do Sweet Home and include that in this because I think it's important.
oh no!
Hey.
I was trying to look up. I was trying to look up the original one,
Mm-hmm.
and it pulled up the original Resident Evil, the remake.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like 6 hours.
Yeah, that was 7.5 hours on hardcore for the first time, including the sections I had trouble with. But I mean, I am looking forward through a classic playthrough. I do expect it to take longer. It'll probably be three or 4 sessions, unless I just steamroll the thing, which I might. It depends on how into it I get.
I'm looking it up. I know for me it took longer. Than 12 hours.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking this over, I just think expanding the sections and letting you dance with Nemesis longer would have probably satisfied most things with this game. It would not have been a hard thing to do. They didn't do it. I feel like you had a movie team piloting a game in a lot of ways, and the marketing team, running with the movie theme of it. And they forgot about... I mean, you had that in there, but it was a part of a movie as opposed to being a game. I mean, I was thinking about this earlier when I was talking about... I think the designers back then had the attitude of, we have these limitations, we need to use the whole buffalo, let's put in mercenaries mode, let's add a randomizer, let's do as much as we can with Nemesis to get the most out of this, where it's kind of like on this side, it's like, let's get the flashiest thing we can fit into a trailer and throw that out there so people can buy and play this. And again, that's not to undercut the areas that they did well, but I think the person piloting the ship ran it on the rocks by doing this. And they chose a short game as opposed to a long game.
In about 3 hours.
I'd believe it. I definitely believe that.
Not like a speedrunner professional, but like a competent player taking hits. It's about 3 hours for the original, but they used to pad those in different ways.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let me see about this. I mean, the thing I do like, I think, about the Resident Evil 3 remake relative to the other Resident Evils, I could probably do this in 2 or 3 hours if I want something short to do. And that's a plus in a way, I think, maybe. I know that's like, wouldn't you just rather be playing RE4 Mercenaries? That's a point. That is a good point. All right. Well, we got anything else to comment on here about this? Because I think I've covered everything. I mean, I might go over a couple of the other points, like I said, how I would change things, but I think I've covered pretty much everything here.
I've said my piece for now. I'm honestly probably gonna go do a back-to-back again.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we've talked about it.
Are you going to be doing that tonight, or when are you going to be?
No, I mean not this week. No.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I am stuck on my Octopath Traveler off stream. Kind of, I'm enjoying myself.
I don't know if this is all I'm going to be doing tonight, Gaze. I'll probably do something else, but what is this? This is my first attempt at a podcast, which is a different type of comment, which I guess it's a collab where we're talking about game design of certain types of games. In this case, it's the RE3 remake, and I wanted to get this type of content in the pipe and going, and yeah, I think we've accomplished that tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So, probably be something simple. I'm going to touch base and powder my nose, but I'll probably be back with something. So you got, yeah, I guess I'll start wrapping it up here unless you got anything else you want to say, Burke.
I mean, there's nothing I can really say about this game at this point, besides it's a competent remake, but just the cut content makes it really hurt.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've already gone over the thing where I think it should be a grid-based randomizer where there's shuffled bosses and things and give Nemesis his agency back. I mean, it's like, you don't even have to take away the cinematic hallways and stuff that they did with the stuff. I mean, it's like, I think people are more mad about that because they took away the other thing with Nemesis and the fact that that's in the game. And I think that's why people get pissed off. It's like, oh, you spent your stuff on this as opposed to giving us the Nemesis we wanted, and that's why people get real sour on it.
There is another thing I will say, and it's mostly just the showmanship. What you remember the line? If you want stars, I'll give you stars. Did it feel a little goofy in the remake?
It did. It did.
Because in the OG, you hit the motherfucker with a railgun. It's not dead yet.
Yeah.
It's like it's Ivan oozing, and you pick up your Magnum that you find, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she walks up as a badass. You want stars? Points the gun. I'll give you stars, and then just mag dumps the entire thing into Nemesis, and it dies. And you're like, little clapping.
Yeah. I mean, the thing
You just feel like that oomph.
Yeah, the thing with the railgun is, I think the way they should have done that is she lines up for a shot and Nemesis sweeps you and you miss a clean hit. You graze him with the railgun. That would have been much better.
Mm-hmm.
In this one, you conk him right on the skull and he's still moving. It's kind of like, yeah, this thing ain't that great.
Yeah, especially considering you blow such a big hole through the goddamn building after it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it should be you land a clean hit on him and it vaporizes him, which, goddamn, walking out of the building that way is a missed opportunity. Jesus Christ.
We'll make our own version of it.
Well, I mean, it's very possible with like Unreal 5 in there. I mean, the thing that gets me about this is I could take this, and it's probably within my skill set to fix it. I'm not saying I'm going to do this, but it's within reach to correct this. And that's what's frustrating to me because, this is Capcom.
Omega,
Mm-hmm.
we'll just make our own game where we do all the cool things we want to do, and then people can bitch about it on their own time and have a similar podcast like this, and we'll remake the first game. And we cut out one thing. They'll bitch about it for 2 hours?
Yeah.
And then the circle will be complete.
Oh, my God. You're right about that, Burke. You're right. Okay. You know what? I had a lot more fun with this than I was expecting, to be honest. We're probably going to have to do this again.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to hear your inputs on RE5 and 6 at some point as someone who's been in this. I've been playing Resident Evil for goddamn too long, man.
All right. I know I'm probably going to be having another run through RE6 coming up very soon with a squid-shaped figure very soon, and
You're playing RE6 with Squid?
she's going to be doing the duo with me, it looks like. So
bummer. I was looking forward to playing that. Oh well.
Well, we talk with her about it, but it's like, I don't even know how to prepare her for something like that. I'm thinking about it's like, how do you describe RE6? And it's like,
It's all good, man.
Oh,
But thank
boy.
you.
But, yeah, that's been our take on RE3. I hope you guys enjoyed. This thing will be up in a raw format. I will try to configure it for podcasts, but, yeah, that's going to be it for now. I guess we're going to raid out to someone. I don't know who's streaming right now, but we'll see. If you got a target, go ahead, bark at me. Otherwise, I'm going to just grab someone. Split the VOD and keep going. Oh, I need a break for a minute. I'll probably be back in an hour or something. I got to touch base with a couple of people. You got anyone, Burke, or should I just grab someone?
Just no, I got no one right now.
Okay, let's see. Gray Skull's starting up. Who else we got? I'm trying to see someone who's kind of in the vein of it. Because I can't exactly raid someone else that's doing a podcast because they're all over the map with this shit. It ain't gonna work. I could raid Halbernacht. Yeah, I'm gonna do Halbernacht. He's doing Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines from 2000.
Oh, that's always a fun one to see if you've never seen it for your first time.
Yeah, actually, wait, we should do our outros real quick. So, anyway, I'm Paladin Tank Slime. I play games good. This has been my opinion on game design RE3, and I've been doing this with Wild Burke over there. So
I'm Wild Burke. I do whatever I want these days, but typically it's horror related.
All right. So I'll give you a shout out over there. So go ahead and give Burke a follow if you enjoyed this podcast. He's a pretty cool dude. Might collab with him sometime. Who knows, right?
Thank you, Hads Pop. I had my OBS open because I was actually fiddling with something. Thank you for that follow.
All right, let's see. All right, those are my socials, and we are raiding Halbernacht. He is a mimic elf VTuber running Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. So I'll wait for your thing to close out, and we're going to be raiding him. Hope you all enjoyed. And we will be back at a later date. So I'll wait till that clips in. It's been fun, guys. I'll be back later with something fancy. Y'all take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.